look where you're going. Look where you're going. If you feel like you're not moving forward, it could be that you are not looking forward. You don't have your eyes on the prize or on where you want to be. Instead, you might get caught staring at something to the side or behind you. And that's pretty dangerous. If you're walking down the street, for example, looking down at your phone, hello, telephone pole will bring you back into the present moment. These kinds of face plant experiences we can have in business as well. If you're not careful, um, we'll end up feeling like we're busy and burnt and overextended, overwhelmed, or being hit, sideswiped by unexpected upsets and accidents in our workload and work lives because we don't have our eyes on the prize. We are really stuck in the weeds of it all. And that's what we want to cover today in the Wake Up Women Leaders podcast, episode 25. Right, Nettie?
Yeah, when you said, look where you're going, I just imagined decades ago, I might be dating myself, when Pokemon Go came out and all these people died, like stepped into traffic, but they ran into poles, they ran into all sorts of things because they were not looking where they were going. And it's really super important. It may seem very basic. Like you might be listening going, all right, ladies, this seems a little simple here. We're talking about looking where you're going, or you might actually have a defensive response like, oh my gosh, I want to go, I want to look ahead, but I am so mired right now in what's happening. There's like a fire over here and one over there, and I've got these things I need to deal with, and you're telling me to look where I'm going. I do not have time for that. And yet, we're going to tell you that your whole body is designed for you to look where you're going. We're going to talk about what that's called and why it works in business as well as in physical reality of how you are designed. I'm Nettie Owens, and I am an executive coach with the Sapari Group, where I work one-on-one in groups through accountability and strategic planning, as well as coaching to support women leaders who are going amazing places and need someone in their corner to help them get there. And I have with me here Victoria Whitfield. Tell us who you are, Victoria.
My, why, thank you. And it's such a pleasure to be here with you. Sensei Victoria Whitfield. And as the world's first business Reiki master, what that means is that I provide energy coaching as well as intervention for business leaders and professionals, because everything is energy, especially in business. So the more that you're able to increase your own personal energy levels, the more you're able to increase your income and impact. And that's what I help my clients do. And so you can find me at strategicmeditation.com, by the way. And in this episode, looking where you're going, this is especially for those of you who feel like you are not as far as you should be yet, right? You're frustrated. You feel like you're spinning your wheels, or the harder you work and the more you give, the less you feel like you're seeing happen, or it's never enough. Many times when I go to networking events and get closer to people, they tend to share their story with me, and they'll tell me about amazing stories of what they've achieved in the past. Oh, we used to do this much business, or we used to have this big office, or I used to have this many clients, or I used to have so much more time to myself. And then that focus on the past becomes a judgment on the current, that because of where they're at is not where they were, then that means where they're at is therefore behind where they were. And that's an energy drain. Energy, I mean by an emotional drain. It's emotionally draining. It drains that resource of personal vitality and drive that you need to make things happen if you keep telling yourself that you are behind and using that as a way to tell the story of what's going on for you in your work and in your career, or even in your body, in your relationships. What have you seen, Nettie?
Well, I want to like give this description of what happens when you look behind a word. And it's simple, right? When we are looking behind and trying to move forward, we stumble, right? We might stumble energetically, we might stumble emotionally, we might stumble financially, but that's what we're going to call this experience of, trying to move forward and do something in the present or future and getting stuck because of what's happened in the past. And I actually feel like this is the place where past success can actually be a hindrance to future success. And you see this, not only in business, but you might see this in performers or athletes, where they had great success and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, they were so good. They were so good in the past. What happened? How come they're stumbling now? And you introduced us to a word last week in our episode that's really going to be the focus of our talk today. And that word is proprioception. So, Victoria, can you explain what this word means? And I mean, for me, I had heard it, I forgot. It's a big word. So give us that definition.
Yeah. So proprioception is a sense that we have as humans. So growing up in grade school, everybody was taught about the 5 essential Aristotelian senses, that being sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. However, we have, most experts would agree, just as a baseline, between 16 to 23 senses. Now, I'm not talking like M. Night Shyamalan, I see dead people, like 6 senses, although we can go there if you want. But what I'm talking about is more than 5 senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Like, think of thermoception, your ability to perceive temperature, for example. That is a 6th sense, and it's not esoteric at all. Similarly, proprioception is your body's internal sense of where it is in space in relationship to itself. So proprioception in your body is, in this moment, can you tell that your eyes are above your arms and that your arms are above your pelvic floor if you're sitting up, and that your pelvic floor is above your feet if you're sitting up, right? Mm-hmm. So this is your internal sense of your limbs in relationship one to another in space. That is called proprioception. So when we're talking about looking where you're going, we want to bring in the body's natural wisdom that exemplifies this brilliantly and beautifully already, to emphasize how important it is to have your goal in mind. Because if you don't keep your goal in sight, you can, like as we were saying, run into the telephones, you can run into obstacles, you can stumble. And what that looks like in practice, in business, is forgetting that you are productive in relationship to what your now intention is versus 15, 20 years ago, or 15, 20 days ago, whatever or months, whatever timeline you're working in, if you keep judging yourself based off of an old goal or old data, then you're going to miss out on all of the good now data, the good now progress that you are making right now. The same way that, for example, if you're driving a motorcycle, you're riding a motorcycle, they specifically teach you that when you want to turn your motorcycle, you need to look where you want the motorcycle to end up. Don't look down at the handles or the wheels as you are turning. Don't look just in front of you. No, look in the direction that you are turning, where you eventually want to end up. Otherwise, you could crash. You need to look where you're going. And our sense of proprioception is what causes your body's limbs to move smoothly with the vehicle or whatever you're doing in relationship to your line of sight. The vision guides the motion.
That is the most perfect metaphor for moving forward in your life and your business. So the first thing we need to do is to literally see where we are going. Our limbs, our body will follow naturally. We don't have to gather them up. Can you even imagine? You're like, I'm going outside now. All right, arms and legs, let's go. Can you even imagine? It's so ridiculous. And yet we really end up micromanaging this when it comes to our business. We don't trust that if we look ahead to where we're going, the rest will follow. And so we get mired in two other timelines. And you've already mentioned them, but I'm going to bring them back up here now so we can kind of talk about it with relation to this solution. So if we are stuck looking in the past, then wow. Okay. If we're stuck looking in the past, then our proprioception sense is not going to be able to function properly. And you're going to stumble. We already talked about stumbling. You're going to stumble if you're looking behind you. Can you imagine if you were walking down the street intending to move forward, but you crane your head around and try and walk while looking behind you? You will fall. You will fall. That is, a near guarantee. The only exception I might say to this is like a dancer who is trained to look one way and move their body another way. But that is immense training, and that is not the metaphor that we're going with right now. And the other problem that happens is as we're looking back, that stumbling looks like, why am I not as successful as I was back then? Why am I struggling when I was able to do it back then? Forgetting all the things about what's happening in your now environment, or the direction that you want to move in is possibly different, is very likely different than what it was back then when those other things were true.
Mm-hmm. And I love what you touched on there about not trusting. That's why we don't look where we're going, because instead of trusting that where we're going is the priority, instead we're allowing what is the disaster right now to be the priority, and it steals all of the momentum. My kids, my husband, my foot, the laundry, the social on LinkedIn, the social on Instagram, the social over here, this email, that email. Well, like, oh, I got to read this. I got to buy this new book. Ooh, let me try this shiny object syndrome, combined with being the giver problem solver, the only giver problem solver, ends up stealing your sense of progress. And that's why we're saying look forward. You could look back and remember all of the things that have happened in the past, and you could look right here and try and only solve what's under your face, right? There's always something. But the problem with only looking in the here and now or only looking in the past is, again, you're going to feel like you're being less productive. And that's why, when we work with women leaders, many times they're caught up. I would even add a third one, looking in the past, looking in the present, or looking into the sky of like an idea of what things should be that have nothing to do with what your actual goal is, but maybe because Susie over there did a thing. Well, now I need to do a thing because Susie did that, and that means I'm not enough, or I have imposter syndrome because I'm not doing what Susie did. So it's not even looking behind or down, it's looking up into thin air. Focus on your goals. Your goals matter. Your goals are what drive the business forward. Your numbers are what drive the business forward. Your now goal numbers, not the ones from 2023 or 2020 or 2017. Be kind to yourself. Where you place your focus is what expands. And so if you're only looking now is going to expand. There's always going to be more things to do in the house. There's always going to be another girlfriend that needs to talk on the phone for a million years. If you only focus on the past, you're always going to be connected to the past. The past will continue to expand and consume you. So this episode, I really feel like we need to emphasize, I don't know who this is for, but we really need to emphasize that where you are placing your focus matters. And maybe, just maybe, could we ask, maybe we haven't been as intentional about where we place our focus lately. What would you say, Nettie? I'm curious.
I feel like there's that part of it, that we haven't been intentional about where we place our focus. But I also think we're not necessarily getting clear on what we're seeing. We're allowing that look ahead to be fuzzy, or to be even too busy, right? So focus is really like singular, right? When we're talking about focus, there's a focus. It's not foci, right? We're multiple things when we start to disperse our energy, but it's singular and it's clear and we can see it. Seeing it is super, super important. And I get that there are some people who, when we talk about seeing your future, seeing the vision, seeing where you're going, you guys jump right on board and you're like, I can see it. I can see my, I can see my future. I can see what I'm wearing. I can see who I'm with. I feel what it's like. All of this is super clear to me. And there are others of you out there who would not call this your skill set to see into the future, to see where you're going. It's something that you may feel that you struggle with. And I'm here to say that even if this is difficult for you, it's out of your comfort zone, or it's something that's not in your unique brilliance, you do still have the capacity to use this skill if you train yourself to do so. And that is something that you and I both have witnessed, people who had a lack of vision being able to cultivate vision as a necessity for moving forward to where they want to go. And you may have some feelings about people who naturally or more seamlessly seem to be able to do this. And that's, it's just something that you will need to confront for yourself, to become comfortable with, to say, you know what, this isn't something that necessarily comes easy for me. I didn't do it in the past, or maybe my belief system wouldn't allow me to do it in the past. And so now I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about what would it be like to see where I'm going, and I'm having some difficulty in getting myself there. And there are some really, simple ways to start this process of seeing and imagining what that future looks like so that you can move towards it. Some simple questions that you can ask yourself to help you get that vision for yourself. And I'm going to tell you one way, and Victoria is probably going to tell you another way to help see that, because it is so important to be able to see where you're going. So for me, one of the things that I teach my clients is the idea of what I call the rear view vision. And the rear view vision is imagining that what you want is your current reality. What you're moving towards is already there for you. And you do this by kind of picking a date, time, and place that you can. I like to encourage people to imagine they're kind of improv, right? We're just playing in this sandbox of possibilities, and set the scene for yourself. What are you wearing? Who are you with? What does it feel like? What things have now become true? And start to play in this space where the stuff that's got you bogged down right now, it's nowhere around. You've overcome those challenges. The rear view vision exercise can be really, really powerful. And you'll notice that your energy level just elevates while you play in the sandbox of future possibilities. Once you can see it, you can start to move towards it. Victoria, I know you have other ways of helping people see their vision. Do you want to share one of those with our listeners here today?
Sure. So if you're getting caught up in the past, or caught up in being the fixer for what's broken right now, it's because of an identity. So maybe the past identity of being, a big time salesperson, or the past identity of being in theater, or whatever, right? Or being married, or being single, whatever. The past identity is something that you remember and long for. Or the current identity, like if you're stuck in only fixing what's wrong now, right, and really sacrificing your productivity to make sure you're putting out fires now, is because you see yourself as the fixer, right? That identity of I have to be the fixer. I'm the only one, right? And so what I would recommend is that if you want to shift to being able to look where you're going, is to step into and experience a different identity. One of the many strategic meditations that I will guide my clients on is called A Journey to $1 Million Me. And you imagine yourself visiting a version of yourself that is already a millionaire. Sit across from the table from them, see what they look like, what they're wearing, how they conduct themselves, and ask them, interview them about their lifestyle and how they got there, and writing that down. In the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill does a variation of this exercise. I call it like a journey to $1 Million Me. He has his round table of wisdom. So he would visualize himself sitting across the table from Abraham Lincoln or Thomas Edison, like different inspirational, highly successful individuals that there's no way he would be able to actually contact, right? It was all a mental exercise. But with his imagination, his imaging sense, otherwise known as the intuition, he would imagine and pretend. So where Nettie says, go improv, I say, permission to play granted. Make it up. Make it up. Right? You'll be surprised how powerful and specific things start getting once you give yourself permission. I'm just going to keep making this up. Like, let's go. Where you pretend and imagine you make up having a conversation with Thomas Edison. How'd you do all of that, right? Or Henry Ford, how did you make all of that money, right? Having that conversation and writing down those insights will shift your identity away from being caught up in the past, which is gone. Well, your past, they might be from the past, but that's neither here nor there, right? Detaching from your past glories and awesome things to now, all right, we need fresh insight. So detach from that identity, as well as detach from, I got to put out fires, or I'm just a fixer now, or I'm the problem solver, I'm the caregiver, I'm the this, I'm the that now, right? Borrow another identity. I tend to recommend doing the Journey to $1 Million Me. And not for nothing, you could do that exercise or Nettie's. I believe you have a workbook, Nettie, that people are able to purchase, right? Did you want to talk to people about your system? I would like, this is kind of the perfect, if you're having a hard time, like looking where you're going, Nettie, you put something together that makes this all super easy and structured. So would you love to share about that?
I do have that system. The momentum accountability system actually puts together all of these pieces, and probably the easiest thing at the moment, kind of maybe two, there is the momentum planner that walks you through that visioning exercise and helps you to really see where you're going and create your focus for 90 days. But in addition to that, every 90 days, I get together with whoever would like to walk through this process, and we do this process over and over throughout the year, just to continuously connect. And it really takes you from seeing that vision to setting your goals to like working it down and chunking it down into what's happening this year, this quarter, this month, this week, today, so that there's always this through thread from start to finish that keeps you looking forward as it, as you walk through that process. You are always connected to where you are going. You are always looking at where you're going. And we actually have the next 90-day event coming up soon. You can check out my LinkedIn, and you'll see all of the details in there with the events that are coming up. You'll see that right in my profile. For today, as we wrap up, thinking about this idea of looking where you're going, not looking backwards, not looking where you are right now, but keeping your eyes trained ahead with the trust that your body and your business and the things you're doing will follow behind because of that sense of proprioception, and using that innate quality that we already have, instead of trying to make up other ways to bring ourselves forward. It doesn't have to be that hard. Our body already knows what to do, and that works in our business as well. If you're thinking about, my gosh, this is a new idea and all of these things with business and leadership, it doesn't feel like I thought it would, right? If you're feeling a little disillusioned with, how it feels to be a leader, we're going to be talking about that next week in our next episode of Wake Up Women Leaders.
We love it. And I would say, if you want more information about being in the room with Nettie for that planning session or about her planner, comment the word plan below. We'll be happy to send you information on that if you don't have access to LinkedIn. We'll find a way to get that to you. And if you want more support around being able to see the way forward for yourself, and you would love both of us to really have a round table, instead of you imagining talking to Nettie and I, like Napoleon Hill imagined. Speaking to you, would you actually like to have a round table? Comment the word connect, and we will reach out to you in a 3-way DM through LinkedIn, so that we're able to set that up and see how we can help. So with that, that's it for the 25th episode of Wake Up Women Leaders. Hope you've been enjoying this. By the way, if you're seeing the end of this podcast episode, obviously it was good. So let us know. Hit that like button and also the share. Share it on your favorite social media platforms that you spread all of this good, positive mindset, inspiration, and transformation to those who need it. And so with that, we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.